Before we talk about The Godfather, I would like to talk about its box, and namely the insert. Not only does it come with awesome components like these metal tins that sadly don't come with any mints at all, but also there is a plastic lid on the insert, which is just everything I ever want in inserts. Nothing upsets me more than an imperfect insert that doesn't really hold things together, that doesn't stand up to the vertical test. And look, here it does. The miniatures stay in place, and of course everything goes apart as soon as you take this miniature tray out and reveal what's inside. Not only do these plastic markers don't stay in their own place because there isn't another lid here, but also all the cards don't fit. And you might be saying, why are we starting this review with a look at an insert? Surely that's the most inconsequential part of the game. Well, here's the thing. The thing about The Godfather is that this almost perfection permeates the entire game. Look, The Godfather is a pretty game. Thankfully, they didn't co-opt for using movie stills and drew the artwork themselves, much like kindergartners, but the result is obviously much better. Just look at this board of New York. Isn't it nice, lovely, and colourful and invoking, and much better than real New York? Of course, my only experience of real New York is sitting for 7 hours in JFK Airport on a layover, and I might be biased, but I do like how this game looks, and I do like the components in it. I like the fact that there's metal tins. It feels nice, and you get to store your money in it. Isn't that just wonderful? And you have miniatures for absolutely everything in this game. I mean, for things that you don't even need. That you have miniatures just to track the rounds and phases of the game, and instead of cardboard tokens, you have plastic tokens, and you can stack them on top of each other, and that serves the gameplay as well, which is so nice. But of course, then you get to the cards, and well, the cards are just that same picture of Marlon Brando staring at you indifferently. And if I'm honest, I have to stare at them a little bit indifferently, because I thought, well, if you put so much effort into everything, why just not have that final little bit? Just round it out a little bit. Regardless, this is just artwork. And we need to talk about gameplay instead. Tins! These tins are at the heart of the game because they hold many secrets. There could be anything inside. Let's open up and see that there's nothing in there. But that's just because it's the very start of the game. See, The Godfather asks you to do one thing. Get away with as much money as possible. So through the course of the game, you'll be squirreling away dosh like a secret mafia squirrel and packing it in this little nice tin, and then nobody knows what's inside, except they kind of do, because whenever you put money inside of it, you have to tell exactly what kind of money you're putting inside of it. But because memory is a fleeting thing, nobody can actually remember all the money that everyone's put inside, and the money goes in and out and changes hands, and all kinds of kooky things happen. But at the end of the day, that's the one thing you want to do. You want to put money inside your suitcase and get away from this horrible mafia life. The way The Godfather gets you to place money inside this tin is via blending 3 common game elements together into one single game, like some sort of a mafia fruit juice smoothie. First, you have your thugs and your family members, which are like workers in a worker placement game, except they're not workers, they're thugs. Therefore, the game calls itself a thug placement game. Get it? You can do one of two things. You can either shake down the front, or you can shake down the back. You can shake the front, you can shake the back, you can shake the front, you can shake the back of a business, and depending on what family member you put and where, that's what you're going to get. So if I put down this thug on meats and vice oil, I will get myself some blood money and a dollar bill, yo. And if I put down this family member into the area connecting many different businesses, I will shake down and get everything that's depicted on their back. The worker placement in The Godfather is pretty simplistic. You simply put your figure down on wherever you want to go with its wonky gun and take the thing that's depicted on it. Now, of course, there's the decision to make whether you want to put your regular thug or your family member, and your family member is cool because it hoovers everything up in the area and just gives you many a thing. But you don't have as many family members as you'd like, and they're a precious resource, and you want to save them for the most important spot. And of course, then there's the space that lets you squirrel away things into your suitcase, and if you have money in your hand, you can put it in your suitcase, and that effectively becomes victory points. Now, you want to go there early before other people can get to it, but you might not have money in your hand, and also you can't predict what your opponents have in their hands either, because regardless of what cards you have in the game, all their backs look identical and they all go into the same hand. So unless you're some sort of a Benedict Godfather badge and you have a Mind Palace thing, you can't really remember what other people have in their hands, can you? Because I can't. I don't have that kind of memory. Long-time viewers will know that I've always said that if you have worker placement in your game, it's not just enough to have worker placement in it. By this time, you have to have something different, something innovative, something that makes it stand out as a worker placement game. And the question is, does The Godfather do that? And the answer is, well, no. Except that it does, but in a way that you don't suspect. And thus, through the course of the game, you'll be placing your thugs and family members and getting things like booze, guns, blood money, or regular money, or dollar bills, as we know it here in England, all in order to squirrel away that money into your suitcase, or alternatively, you'll be using these things to complete various jobs. Now, these jobs will give you more money or even abilities that will do nice things to your opponent. I'm joking, of course, they're not going to be nice things. They're going to be mean, horrible things like car bombs. Here's the thing. Here's the most important thing. Now, I've covered two elements of this game, worker placement and set collection. This makes it about the equivalent of Ticket to Ride, but to tie it all together, here's the third element, and that is area control. See, the thing that you very quickly realize about The Godfather is that you don't just want to place your worker where it'll give you the thing that you want, because that would be too simple. No, at the end of every round, each area will be counted, and it will look for how many of your thugs or family members you have there. If you have more than anyone else, you will get one of these markers and you will get to put it down on that area and it will stay there permanently for the rest of the game. That marker means you now control that territory, and whenever another thug on a different given round will put themselves in the front of your business and shake it down, not only will they get whatever is depicted on that business, but also you will get it as well. On top of that, if at the end of the game you have more markers on a given area than anyone else, you will score an additional $5 dues. And that's the thing about The Godfather. If you break it apart and look at its individual components, the set collection, the worker placement, and the area control, none of those are particularly interesting. In fact, they could be compared to the most simple counterparts in other games. But the combination of all of those things together is what makes The Godfather a game, because suddenly you can't just place your worker wherever you want. You have to consider, is this going to get me the right tools to complete a job? Is this going to net me the control of the area that I want to have control of? The answer is, you don't ever know. Let's say you are the red player and you want to take control of Wall Street, so you place your last thug right here, pretty secure in the knowledge that by the end of the round you'll have more thugs in here than anyone else, and you will be able to put that precious control marker right on top. Things are good. But then comes along the teal player and plays Car Bomb, which says that all non-teal family members or thugs go into the Hudson River and feel a little bit dirty, because I hear the Hudson River is not very clean. And just like that, all your carefully laid plans are also right there with the dung in the water. And let's say that you've been squirreling away money because it's the early game and you thought, hey, let's take an opportunity to put some very good cards in here, like a couple of 5s and a 2, and that's pretty great. But then comes along another player and then plays Extortion, which says that you have to take out 3 cards out of your tin, your choice, but hey, you've only got 3 in here, right? And just like that, you've lost 12 points and given them to another player, which feels oh so not nice. And you might say, well, maybe that's part of the game. Maybe you're supposed to know that these cards are in the game, and maybe you're supposed to play around them. Regardless, at all points you feel uncertain, and maybe that's thematic, it's a social contract you sign yourself up for if you are a mafioso, because then your life is full of car bombs, extortions, and drive-thrus, right? Maybe I just need to get myself a little bit more immersed in this theme. That's not everything yet. I have to say, this isn't really doing it for me. I don't even like cats. If you feel like this last sketch was a little bit too silly and perhaps too much on the nose, I would argue that that's entirely the point, because I think that the Godfather Corleone's empire is a little bit too silly and on the nose. In fact, I can't help and equate it to Zack Snyder's Watchmen as an adaptation of Watchmen, because it got the aesthetics of the thing just perfectly right. Like, everything looks fantastic, and there's all these little references, and it's the same here. You have the horse's head, and then you have the paddy wagon and car bombs, and all of that feels authentic to The Godfather. But I ask you, does it feel authentic to the theme of The Godfather? In fact, for that matter, I ask you, does it feel authentic to the theme of mafia movies? And I don't think that it does, because I don't think that mafia movies are about car bombs or feeling uncertain at all times. I think that they are about families and how screwed up they make you. Hi, Dad. And that's the thing. You might say that maybe I'm asking a little bit too much. I'm asking a lot from a board game to emulate dysfunctional family relationships and how they arrest you into a life that you don't want to be a part of. But I've seen Cardboard do wonderful things, and I get how this could be a mafia game. I just don't understand at any point why this should be the Godfather game. That's not to say that this somehow disparate theme makes the game any less competent. There are very nice little touches added throughout the entire system. They just make it feel rounded and cohesive and very polished, like the fact that you have to bid for these ally cards at the end of every round, and guess what you bid for? With money from your suitcase, precious victory points, and then you will secretly put something in the lid of this suitcase and then wait for everyone to be done, because they're gonna decide how much they want to put in there, and then you're gonna hold it and wait, and then you'll reveal, and you're like, aha! I bid more than you, and I'll get to take this card that I'm not really even sure whether I wanted or whether it was worth those points. And again, it's that feeling of uncertainty, or the fact that you're only able to hold so many cards at the end of every round, meaning that if you picked up too many things, well, that's really not a good thing. You can't build up towards the next round. You have to utilize the resources you've acquired. And it's nice and very rounded, and I like that The Godfather does that. It feels like it knows what it wants to be. It's just in a very rare case, for no pun included, what it wants to be is not exactly the game that we want to play. And in fact, a lot of people compared The Godfather to Blood Rage, another game by Eric Lang, which was an area control game with a sort of worker placement element, but not really. And actually, I feel like that comparison is not very apt, and the closer comparison to The Godfather is a long-time crowd favourite, Lords of Waterdeep, a Dungeons and Dragons themed worker placement game, which had a very minute element of area control and, of course, set collection. And I never felt that particularly engaged by Lords of Waterdeep, and I don't feel particularly engaged by The Godfather. Having said that, I see so many people enjoying this game, and I think it's entirely possible that you might be one of them. If you enjoyed this video, you might like to subscribe to our channel, no pun included, right here, where we deliver viewer-powered reviews every single Thursday without exception. And if you really appreciate what we do, you might like to purchase our Gloomhaven digital promo, which we've just launched, which has been a part of our Kickstarter campaign and is now available for everyone to buy. And maybe you don't have Gloomhaven, but maybe you really like us and want to throw a few dollars our way. That's one way to do it. And if you want to check out more of our stuff, we recently did a Gen Con coverage video, which people really like and seem to think that it's the best thing since sliced waffle chicken. For now, I have to sod off and start up my car. I saw some guy fiddling with it, but I'm sure it's going to be completely fine, isn't it?